Today on the news and why it matters, the leader of ISIS killed after U.S. forces cornered him, and WaPo is kind of sad about it. Also, President Trump got booed at the Nationals game, and then they lost. Got a lot to get into, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Happy Monday. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today here with the one and only Stu Burke here.
Lucky me.
I was thinking that too, but I didn't want. I thought it would be rude if I said it.
If you said it, would
yeah. Conservative commentator Grant Stinchfield, thanks for being back.
It's good to be here.
And Chief Researcher of the Glenn Beck program, Jason Buttrell. Thanks for being here as well. You are going to come in really key today.
I figured as much.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to kind of break down all of this this ISIS stuff here in a second. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. So interest rates are really good right now. We don't know when that's going to change, but could be tomorrow. I don't know. So if you need to maybe refinance your house, or you're looking at buying a house, whatever the case may be that you're going to need that loan, American Financing is the first place you need to call. They have salary-based professionals. They're not commission-based. So they're not just trying to look at the numbers and crunch them in order to see how they're going to get the best kickback for them. They're actually in it to help you. They answer all of the questions that you have. They want to put you in a solution that is actually reasonable and good for your family, unlike what Stu likes to do, which is just really insane, irresponsible loans. Mm-hmm. They told him no.
But if you take the loan and then you put it all in black and it comes out on black, then you double it. You just pay it all back and you get to keep the rest. It's awesome.
And they wouldn't let you do that.
No, they wouldn't let me do that.
They wouldn't. They truly are. They are the responsible place to go. You got to go to AmericanFinancing.net, or you can call 800-906-2440. That is AmericanFinancing.net. They are the only ones we trust here at the Blaze. So. Abu Bakr Al-Baghdadi. Did I say that right, Jason?
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr. Looks like Bakar. You know what? I'm not going to pronounce your name correctly, all right? So he is dead now. So he was cornered by U.S. forces and ended up detonating a suicide vest and killing himself. He was the leader of ISIS. Being that you are former military, why don't you break it down for us on why this was so important?
Well, first off, before I get into that, is just it was a great operation. Delta Force Rangers did an outstanding job. I know multiple, both Delta and Rangers, and they're insanely awesome people. And you'll never hear about them bragging about this anywhere, which is another awesome thing. There'll probably never will be a movie or a book deal because they're going to keep it just between them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we know attack helicopters took off from Erbil, northern Iraq, which is the autonomous Kurdistan area. And so we worked with the Kurds there. We also worked with the Kurds that are in Syria. We had a spy that was still in ISIS who was working with the Kurds, and they were feeding us that intel. So it also shows that the relationship between the Kurds and the U.S. is still somewhat stable, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. So there's that. It sounded like, it's hard to say because the reports were kind of all over the place, but it sounded like this might have been like a 9-hour operation and involving around 200 American troops. The vast majority of them probably were Rangers providing security on the ground. Can't say enough about the Rangers. They're just outstanding. This is very, very important. This is Baghdadi was chosen for a reason, not chosen by any kind of higher power. He was well, maybe the devil, but he was chosen by the people that he spent time with in Camp Bucca. That was the the U.S. detention center, and he was a street thug. He was a street thug that had gone to seminary. Basically, was not overly smart in any kind of theology or religion or anything like that. Remember when we were studying this at the time, we were like, this is very strange that this guy ascended. It didn't make any sense. It came out later that he was helping write some of the radical ideology that they were going to base this off of. Does that mean they all believed in it? Some of them did, but I don't think any of the leaders, hardly any of them did. Most of them were former Ba'athist Iraqi officers, intelligence officers, their special forces, those guys. And I've been on the ground in Iraq and I've seen some of the things that they've done, and there's no way in hell that some random guys that came over from all parts of the world came and just figured out how to do some of this stuff. They were following military doctrine, they were following advanced Mao type insurgency type tactics, and that all came from Saddam's army. It all came from all of them. So it was very, very strange that he got picked. Well, he got picked because of his last name, pretty much, and his lineage went back to the same tribe that Muhammad came from. I think it was the Quraysh tribe. And so if you're going to be the next caliph that they're going to mark on their list as he is next in line, the official caliph that's supposed to take us, you know, through to the end of the world, which is what they believed, then you need a guy from that tribe. He just happened to have that lineage. So they stuck him in that position. I don't think he ever really fully commanded, as they kind of portrayed him to be, the ISIS army. I don't really think. I think the Ba'athists and the jihadists that were in league with the Ba'athists, the former Saddam military, they're the ones that mostly did it. That kind of goes towards, we know around August of this year, as he went off into Western Syria, he basically put the entire operation under the guy that they just announced had taken over from Baghdadi. I can't remember his name, but he's another former Saddam military. It's incredibly ironic, you know, we did the policy where we, you know, said, you know, you guys, we don't need your army anymore. We split that up. That was a very, very bad decision under the Bush administration. Then the army, as we thought we had defeated them, they kind of went out, dispersed. They linked up with some of these jihadist groups. His army just came back and tried to take the country back, took a large portion of it back. And that fight is still going on today. It's just an insane development how that all went down. But so the guy that's taking over now, he is running day-to-day operations. You will not see anything change as far as day-to-day operations in Iraq and Syria. As far as what ISIS was doing a few months ago, they're going to do the exact same thing now. It's not a whole lot, but they are still active.
Do you know what Baker al-Baghdadi, I'll call him Baker because I'm just like George Bush the first, and, you know, Baker al-Baghdadi. You talked about him writing some of this radical ideology.
Yeah.
What ISIS did, as opposed to Al-Qaeda, was transform their media penetration into places like the United States to radicalize future holy warriors to literally come to places like Syria and Iraq and other places to wage war against the United States. And he was instrumental in radicalizing Americans and others to wage war on our homeland against American citizens.
Over 2,000 deaths because of this ideology.
Yeah, so don't underestimate his writings. He knew exactly what he was doing. And you said whether you believed him or not, he knew exactly what he was doing, what would manipulate the minds of young people to go after their own kind.
And that's a very good point because so all of the people that were rushing in to join this because they thought this was, you know, the time to take them to the end times. All the people that are rushing onto that, his death now gives them pause because now they're led by a guy that's a former Saddam, you know, Ba'athist. Like they were pretty much atheists. They didn't care. They weren't religious in the slightest. So now you had all these people. They're like, hey, let's join in and join with the caliph. Now they don't have that anymore. I would say that is the most significant thing as far as the development of this. They have lost a significant ideological weapon that they can use all over the world. Will they still be a terror in their country? Absolutely, they will be.
It's like losing the leader of a cult.
Yeah.
Literally losing the leader of a cult, because that's what it is. They make these false promises of, you join us, we're on the right side, and you'll get salvation and your however many virgins. When you lose the leader and the guy that came up with all of this ideology that would go right to the minds of these manipulatable youngsters to literally kill Americans and other non-believers. You didn't just have to be an American. All you had to be was a non-believer. Good riddance to this guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Joe?
I think, yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. I'll just say that I think there's an interesting part of, like, you know, Baghdadi didn't have the name brand recognition of an Osama bin Laden, but he ushered in a different type of terrorism in some ways where, you know, you think of, like, from American terms, you have like Tim McVeigh who kills a bunch of people in this big broad attack. That's sort of like Osama bin Laden, where, like, you know, a serial killer is more like what we saw from Baghdadi when it comes to the way he presented his terror. He was widespread, of course, over there. But I mean, we're talking about very personal attacks. It was, you know, decapitating people while they were alive, lighting people on fire while they were alive, drowning them in cages, electrocuting them. Things that were incredibly personal. Instead of hiding that violence and trying to make an argument that they were the good people, they promoted it. They put it on social media. They let everyone see it as much as possible. It was sort of a different tactic, and is just, you know, obviously just as terrifying in a totally different way. He deserves to have that name brand recognition of Osama bin Laden. He was just as bad, and you know what he did to. I mean, we talk about the Me Too movement quite a bit. It's a shocking thing when, you know, the media would be would recognize any good in a person like this. I mean, this is someone who is responsible for thousands and thousands of rapes and murders of women, imprisoning them all over the Middle East, taking an entire group of people, many of which who actually had gained some freedom, and putting them back in chains. You know, just a horrible human being, and we're glad to be rid of him.
The difference between ISIS and Al-Qaeda was very significant to the people that study global terrorism and Islam even, because Al-Qaeda, how they were is they didn't believe the caliphate should be established right now. They believed they had to cause a lot of terror, break up a lot of the old ways of doing things in the Middle East. Then later, eventually, they would return to the caliphate. But something Baghdadi was like, well, let's say the world is prepared right now. Let's just establish it right now. That's why they started taking territory. Al-Qaeda never did that. They had little bitty swaths of protected zones, but they never had the balls to say, okay, now is the time for the caliphate. And it really makes you wonder, things ramp up. They very rarely scale back down. Who will be the next group to say, yeah, like this now is the time for the caliphate? It probably will be continued on by remnants of the people that are left over that, helped run ISIS.
Can you put the headline back up from the Washington
Yeah, well,
Post?
that's what we're going to next. So now that we've kind of heard who this guy was, objectively, right? These are things that he's actually done, objectively speaking. Let's talk about the Washington Post and how they decided to cover his death. Their headline reads his name, we'll call him Baker. There you go, Grant. Baker al-Baghdadi, austere religious scholar at helm of Islamic State, dies at 48. What a shame. That's terrible. Grant?
You want to talk about media malpractice? This is the kind of thing that gets me so angry about what's going on in America today. Baker al-Baghdadi would have liked nothing more than to take every reporter from the Washington Post, march them out onto the beaches of California, and lop all their heads off. Every single one of them. And they write religious scholar at the helm of Islamic State. And if you notice, it's under obituaries. Like, this is a freaking news story, not an obituary. It wasn't like as the CEO of some major company. He was the leader of one of the worst terrorist groups on the face of this earth who wanted nothing more than every American dead. Religious scholar?
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
We had a couple tweets that we saw that we thought were funny. So, of course, everyone had shared Grant's opinion. It was awful. It was media malpractice. It was just, I mean, you couldn't even fathom this. So the hashtag WaPo death notices started trending. Let's go through a couple of them. Jesse Kelly, our friend, good friend of the show, Jesse Kelly said, Jeffrey Dahmer, lover of exotic cuisine, dies at 34.
See, leave it to Jesse Kelly. Like, I love that guy. I know him very well.
Yeah.
He used to come on my show over at NRA TV. And you see how upset I was, like, and talking about the watch. And I'm literally upset about it.
Yeah.
But I need that from Jesse.
I know.
I need that. I really do, to bring me back,
You gotta laugh so you don't cry.
Exactly.
Right? Or your head explodes. One of the two of those. Selena Zito said, John Wilkes Booth, a noted thespian, American actor, and member of a prominent theatrical family, dead at 26.
Oh,
That's a bummer. That's a big bummer. Let's read the next one.
Most of the time, Twitter sucks, but this was a good day for
Yeah.
Twitter.
It really was.
It
It really was. Darth Vader, disabled single father of two, passes away. That's a bummer, gosh. And then a host of Pseudo-Intellectual with Lauren Chen. She is on BlazeTV host as well. You got to check her program out. She said, Adolf Hitler, dedicated art enthusiast, animal rights activist, and talented orator, dies at 56. Bummer, and I think we got one more here. Osama bin Laden, father of 23, killed in home invasion. You gotta hate it when stuff like that happens. But I mean, I'm glad that they made light of it.
Yeah.
But none of that was a stretch from what WaPo did, right? Like that's.
No, it was the same
It sounds ridiculous when you're reading them and you're like, no, this is exactly what they did.
Well, I don't know what is with the Washington Post lately. I mean, it's absolutely. We're doing a special on Wednesday, Glenn is, and we're looking at some of the ways they've tried to attack the whole Ukraine theory. That some of the things we've been saying, and people like John Solomon, and it is absolutely insane. Like telling one side of the story and burying the other side, or complete misdirection. In other cases, just a blatant lie. And I'm not even typically, I don't know. You'd think there would be a scattershot of stuff like this, but I haven't been seeing as much of that, like from New York Times. or any other places. But
President Trump accuses the media of being an enemy of the state. What else do you call calling Baker al-Baghdadi a religious scholar? You don't get any more enemy of the United States than al-Baghdadi. And you call him a religious scholar? That is the definition of enemy of the United States. What is the Washington Post doing?
I don't know.
Stu, last word.
Look, I mean, we've come to expect this from the media, and they continue to deliver. You know, it's funny because you see this where I think when, you know, Osama bin Laden dies during the Obama administration, it's the one day where I feel like conservatives were like, I can give you 7 years and 364 crappy days of the Obama administration. That's one good one.
We came together and said,
like, yeah, look,
this is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can go back and forth about how they took credit for it and how it was the toughest decision in 500 years, which I'll never understand from Joe Biden. But I mean, the truth is, like, we were all happy when this guy was finally brought to justice. And it does not seem like the same thing's happening now that Trump is in charge and a guy who is just as big an enemy of the United States is brought to justice in the same way.
I think they're ignoring the story because they don't want any successes under President Trump.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, this is Delta Force's success.
Of course.
Yes, President Trump made the call. Any good man's going to make that call. And so this Delta Forces, those guys are unbelievably great.
They are. And before we go, I will say there was a big difference in President Trump's speech that he gave and President Obama's speech. I thought he did give credit. He gave credit where credit was due. He gave credit to the Delta Forces. He did not try to make it sound like he was the one who did everything. So I was pleased to see that.
Totally.
All right. Speaking of President Trump, he got booed at one of the World Series games. And apparently there's a Trump curse. I don't know. We'll get into it when we come back. Hey, how are your bed sheets? I know.
Wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Are they?
They are.
Okay.
Thank
well,
you for asking.
You're welcome. So I know
Are they clean?
Yes. Once every 3 years, yeah.
we
Whether
talk
it needs it or
about your pillows, right? When you're talking about comfort in your bed, you're talking about your pillows, you're talking about your mattress, but we usually forget about bed sheets, and that can make a huge difference if you've got like cheap bed sheets that maybe they get really hot and like sticky on you, and then you don't sleep well and you wake up in the middle of the night. Bed sheets are a big deal. That's why you need to get Boll and Branch. They are the softest and most comfortable sheets in the entire world, I'm telling you. They have been the only bedding loved by 3 U.S. presidents. Okay, there you go. That should sell it for you. They are 100% pure organic cotton. It is soft right out of the box. They actually get softer when you wash them. They're very light, ultra soft. You're not going to get hot. You're not going to be kicking off the covers because you wake up in the middle of the night and you're super hot. You're not going to do that. So for a limited time, you can get their luxury flannel bedding. It's getting to be that time of year, even here in Texas. It's getting to be a little bit chillier. All right, so you got to get their luxury flannel bedding to keep you cool sleepers warm. And because they breathe, keep the warm sleepers cool. It's ethically made. No harmful chemicals, pesticides, GMOs, so you know I'm a fan. Nothing is outsourced. Boll and Branch is committed to the welfare of their employees, and they were the first fair trade certified manufacturer of linens. That's awesome. So shipping is always free. You can try it out for 30 nights risk-free. Who does that? Who's like, here, you can try these bed sheets out for 30 nights, and if you don't like them, return them. Boll and Branch does it. Right now, you can get $50 off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with promo code MATTERS. That is Boll and Branch, BOLL, and branch.com. Promo code MATTERS. Get $50 off. Hurry up and get it before it gets too cold, because I know we are about to hit that season. So the Nationals, was this the first game?
Game 5.
Oh, God. I'm really into baseball, you guys. I have been keeping up with it so well. So the Nationals and the Astros played. I knew that last night, and President Trump was there. He was announced. Here is what happened when he was announced at the game.
You sure they're not booing John Ratcliffe? I think that's Mr. Ratcliffe here in Texas.
So that was, of course, the crowd booing and then chanting, "Lock him up." It's Washington, so it's not shocking.
Yeah,
right? But
79% Democrat, 5.9% Republican in that area. I mean, of course, people from all around.
And so how much were seats to get into that game? So who do you think's at that game? A bunch of deep state Washington insiders that hate everything about President Trump. And I love John Ratcliffe, by the way. I was just making a joke about him.
Is that the Steve Carell? Does he look like Steve Carell?
He kind of does look like Steve Carell.
I thought Steve Carell was hanging with Trump, and that was going to be surprising. I mean, look, this is exactly what I was just saying, right? Like, you don't even get one day.
Right.
I mean, you think if Donald Trump's going to go to a game, he's not an idiot. He knows a lot of people don't like him. So he might get booed anytime he goes out in public, right, in an uncontrolled environment. However, on the one freaking day where we've killed the world's greatest terrorist, the world's biggest threat when it comes to ISIS and all that stuff, you'd think this would be the one day we could all come together and be like, all right, like, hey, like, I'm glad we got this done. Because, look, say what you want about Trump. I mean, he's done a lot when it comes to ISIS. I mean, he's been very successful in this area. And it was, at the time of the election, one of the biggest things. Like, it fades from memory because success has a way of doing that, right? Like, when you succeed and you have a lot of progress in an area, it becomes a lower priority, and in a way it sort of hurts you politically. But, I mean, this is just silly. Like, I mean, the guy deserves a round of applause. I'm not going to get too excited about it. Who really cares what the Washington Nationals baseball stadium is going to say about your presidency? It doesn't really matter, but it is very typical of what you'd expect these days.
What a difference the country from when Bush threw his pitch out after 9/11 to now. Like, and if you remember then, it was very similar. It was a very resist type atmosphere at the time. Like Saturday Night Live had just completely stopped doing both sides, and they were just hitting on.
Well, that was right after 9/11, though, wasn't it? I mean, it was pretty. I mean, he was still at 90% approval rating times at that point.
I know, but it's like, but nowadays I don't even think it'd be the same.
Well, I was at the last Ranger game at the ballpark in Arlington this season, and George Bush was there. Yeah. And he got a standing ovation that went on and on, and still, I think a lot has to do with where you are. We're in the middle of Texas here, and they love George Bush. There, you're in the middle of Washington, the swamp, where they hate President Trump.
If President Trump was here at a Cowboy game, he'd get a standing O.
I promise you he would.
Yep.
Well,
good thing was also the Yankees lost that game, which was important.
Which was not a good thing because I am a Yankee fan. Thank you for bringing that up.
It wasn't just the people in the ballpark. It was also Twitter, who apparently criticized him because he didn't bring his son. I mean, it's like he can't do anything right in their eyes. There was one guy who said, wait, did Trump really not bring Barron to the game or his grandchildren?
Stupid.
Another one, a father not taking his son to a baseball game, let alone a World Series game, is perhaps the worst indictment of a family man I've ever heard. I have a feeling Trump could have gotten Barron a ticket if he got tickets for Scalise and Gates. Maybe Barron just doesn't like baseball.
Exactly.
Do you think maybe that it's so dangerous there with the booze that President Trump was wearing a bulletproof vest while he's there into a hostile environment in the middle of Washington with terrorist threats all over the place? Do you really want to bring your kid into that situation?
That's a great point.
I wouldn't.
Weird criticism, man.
It's like
it's late night. Maybe he doesn't stay up that late.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, like, there's 100 million reasons. Plus, like, I know if I were president of the United States in this environment, I wouldn't want my kids out doing anything.
I heard from people, there was a big fear. There was credible threats against President Trump and the fact that they were very concerned to the point where he had a bigger bulletproof vest on him than normal at that game. I mean, it was a heavy vest he was wearing because they were so concerned about threats against him.
Jeez. All right, well, take that truth, stupid Twitter trolls.
I tell you
in a minute.
Oh yeah. I tell you what though, they found the perfect hex. So if we've stumbled across something, I want President Trump.
Before we go, don't forget Glenn's next chalkboard special on Ukraine. It is coming up. When is it, Jason? Wednesday?
Wednesday, 7:30.
And what can they? I mean, it's huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, ever since Glenn exposed everything about the Ukraine stuff, what Democrats were doing, the media has gone a full-fledged assault, to try and disprove a lot of the things. When we started looking into it, we were shocked about how misleading and how much they're just lying about it, just straight lying. But instead of just telling you that, we're going to show you exactly. We're going to show you our research and how we came to our conclusions.
Yeah, you're not going to get it over in the mainstream media. You're only going to get it here at BlazeTV. You can use promo code NEWS, get $10 off of an annual subscription if you have not subscribed yet. You can go back, you can re-watch the last chalkboard special so that you're caught up to date whenever this chalkboard special happens on Wednesday. But you got to go to blazetv.com. Hey, stay tuned, subscribers. Overtime starts next.